YouTube, once again, it's Kennard Vernon Stewart here for the podcast. We're talking Auburn football. Go ahead and like the video, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Vernon Speaks Sports Auburn. And as always, it's great to be an Auburn Tiger, War Eagle. Unprecedented times on the plains. There is no spring football going on. Yet, the feeling is still in the air, so to speak. I mean, we're really missing this thing. It just feels like something has been taken away, so to speak, and it has. You know, this is the time of the year. You know, it's March the 26th, I think it is, 27th. And either way, this would have been 10 days into spring camp. You know, or at least, let's see, at least 7 practices in of spring camp. And that has definitely been taken away. And a lot of Auburn fans are out there thinking like, man, where do we go from here? Okay. Now, if you're an Auburn fan and you are, listening to me today, go ahead in the comment section and give me a big War Eagle, because we're still on here at Vernon Speaks Sports and we're still talking about Auburn football. And what I've been doing is I've been looking at some film on last year, and I was thinking about some of my favorite games from last year. And I have bits and pieces of different games that I really liked, especially, you talk about the Tulane game. There were some things I liked about that. There were some things I loved about the Texas A&M game. Really looking at the Florida game, that was an extra competitive game up until the big run by Lamichael Pirine, where Florida, I thought this was a great play by Dan Mullen. It was kind of an ISO play. If you think about a one-on-one type situation in basketball where you match up, excuse me for the dogs barking. I'm sitting outside right now, so I can't account for all the natural noises. But anyway, you have Lamichael Pirine in an ISO play to where everything was going left, and then Lamichael Pirine comes back to the right. KJ Britt misses a one-on-one tackle, and Daniel Thomas, in his usual fashion, takes a bad angle. Next thing you know, they open that game up. 24-13 is the final score. Didn't like the ending, but I love the way Auburn competed, especially defensively in that particular game. Then you look at the LSU game. All of us in the last few years, 2017, 18, and 19, you could call each one of those as the game that Auburn wished that they could have back. For several reasons. I thought Auburn had plenty of opportunities to win that particular football game. Yes, I think Joe Burrow would have somehow rise to the occasion and made some plays down the stretch, but I think Auburn could have put themselves in a much better position to win that particular football game. But because of some missed opportunities, especially down in the red zone, and taking advantage of some turnovers by LSU, just didn't make that happen. But either way, my favorite game from, Georgia, the second half, I like that part where Auburn was starting to come back. That was a pretty nice football game as well. But one thing we look at when we look at the Auburn season is just the season actually that got away. I thought Auburn had opportunities in every particular football game that they played. And it was just unfortunate how things turned out in the end. Usually, especially in the losses, there was always like really big plays. Like you talk about the play with Florida and number 16, I can't think of his name right now, where they had the one-on-one matchup with he and KJ Britt. And of course, Daniel Thomas makes a bad angle. Florida scores on that particular play. Georgia had a big play early in the game. Very non-characteristic big play, long pass play early in that game that kind of broke that game open. Auburn stormed back, had an opportunity late in that Georgia game with a very nice, I'm talking about a very well-designed out route by the running back, Harold Joyner. The only thing is, Bo Nix, instead of throwing it to the play side shoulder, actually somewhat behind. And when you have a running back that has momentum going in one direction and then having to double back to possibly catch the ball in another, just a hard thing to do, just an unfortunate thing. You can't blame Gus Malzahn for that. I'm not sunshine pumping Gus Malzahn, but that was a very well-designed play to where Harold Joyner catches that ball. He's down at least inside of the 5-yard line for the Georgia in Georgia territory with Auburn, with a opportunity to potentially tie that game up. But when I think about the game that I have no problem watching over and over again, because I know Auburn fans have, they go on YouTube and they look at games over and over again. But when I look at that Oregon game, that was probably the easiest game to rewatch. Auburn got off to a very slow start, being down 14-3. Kind of inched their way back. Oregon missed several opportunities to actually put that game away in the first half, but Auburn kept fighting and kept fighting. And I want to say the key play of that particular game was one, early, Oregon has a chance to go up 14-0, missing Addison in the end zone, wide open. I mean, he's just in and out of his hands. But I think Justin Herbert threw that ball a little bit too hard. If he puts a little bit more touch on that pass, just an easy catch there. Then the next play, they missed the field goal. But the play of the game, in my opinion, Auburn was struggling like hell with covering on punt returns. Oregon gets a nice return into Auburn territory down to about the 5-yard line. The following play, see, Mario Cristobal kind of, he's a very good coach, very good play, has some good play callers on his team. They saw some openings. So Mario Cristobal down in the red zone decides to do a RPO. And it was a zone read. Either way, it didn't work out too well. Hands it off to C.J. Verzell, fumble. Big Cat Bryant recovers it, almost takes it to the house. But that was the particular play that got Auburn back into that football game. And then you had other plays where Auburn started to settle in, and then their depth actually started to tell on Oregon. Because if you listen to Mario Cristobal's preseason, he said, hey, we only got about 70-something scholarship players, so that fatigue starts to set in. Auburn actually made some adjustments by putting Roger McQuarrie in the place of Javaris Davis at that boundary cornerback. That made a big difference. Auburn started to make some moves with, Nick Cole and Tyrone Truesdale. And, it really paid off for the Tigers in the end. Got a big play from Eli Stowe for the touchdown, then the over-the-top by Joey Gatewood, then the ill-advised pass by Bo Nix to win the football game. But I'm going to tell you, that was my favorite game last year to watch for the Auburn Tigers. I've watched that game. I can't tell you how many times, and saw the great adjustments by the defense with Kevin Steele and how he diversified his personnel. As a matter of fact, Jamian Sherwood made a really good tackle in that particular game, set up Oregon to try to attempt a fourth down and short. Auburn stuffs them, gives them even more chance. But even with the ill-advised pass for a touchdown, Seth Williams actually spikes the ball in the end zone, gives Oregon the ball in great field position, coming down to one last play where Oregon had a chance to win that particular football game. But Justin Herbert overthrows. If it was inbounds, Daniel Thomas would have had the interception. Auburn wins that particular football game 27-21, hands down my favorite game of the 2019 season. Once again, it's Kennard Vernon Stewart here for the podcast, Talking Auburn Football. Go ahead and like the video, comment, and subscribe. And as always, it's great to be an Auburn Tiger, War Eagle.